Books presents an unabridged recording of Badger Boy by Elmer Kelton, narrated by Jonathan Davis.
Chapter 1. The Texas Frontier, Spring, 1865. Rusty Shannon saw brown smoke rising beyond the hill and knew the Rangers had arrived too late. The Indians had already struck, and by now they were probably gone. He had expected trouble, but his pulse quickened as if the smoke were a surprise. He signaled his 5 fellow patrol members and spurred his black horse, Alamo, into a run. He didn't have to look back. The men would follow him. They always did, though he had no official rank. He was a private like the rest. But they had fallen into the habit of looking to him for leadership. Nor was he noticeably older than the others. Orphaned early, he could only guess he was about 25, give or take a little. A harsh outdoor life had made him look more than that. He had accepted the responsibility of leadership by default, for no one else had offered to take it. Back east, the strong nicker of the warhorse was fading to a faint and painful whinny, as the tired and tattered Confederacy kept struggling to its feet for one more battle and one more loss. To Rusty's independent, red-haired manner of thinking, it was high time the Richmond government conceded defeat and let the guns fall silent. Even from his faraway vantage point at the edge of Comanche Kiowa country, he saw clearly and with pain that the war had bled both sides much too long. The Texas frontier had a war of its own to contend with, and it was far from over. Rusty Shannon was tall and rangy, some would say perpetually hungry-looking. Meals were a sometime thing when frontier rangers scouted for Indians. Often the men were too pressed to stop, and at other times they simply had nothing to eat. He considered himself a soldier of sorts, though he owned no uniform. Texas had not even provided him a badge as a symbol of ranger authority. The cuffs were raveled on his grimy homespun cotton shirt, the sleeves mended and mended again. His frayed gray trousers seemed as much patch as original woolen fabric, for the long war had made new clothing scarce and money scarcer. Red hair bristled over his ears and brushed his collar. Forced to be frugal, rangers cut each other's hair. It was often a rough job of butchery, but appearances were of little concern. Staying alive and helping others stay alive were what counted on the frontier. Riding their assigned north-south line past the western fringe of settlement, the patrol had come upon tracks of 15 to 20 horses at dusk yesterday. By order of Texas's Confederate government in Austin, the Rangers were duty-bound to locate and take into custody any deserters or conscription dodgers who might be idling out the war in the wild country beyond the settlements. Rusty knew the approximate whereabouts of 50 or 60 such men, banded together for mutual security, but they were of little interest to him. If the Confederacy wanted them captured, it should send Confederate Army troops to do the job. 5 or 6 Rangers were no match for so many brushmen, even if they invested a full heart in the duty, and he had no heart for that kind of business. He had regarded secession from the Union 4 years ago as a grave mistake, though fellow Texans had voted in its favor. He saw the war as folly on both sides, north and south. If a man did not want to take part in it, the authorities should leave him the hell alone. Officialdom did not share his view, of course. Remaining with the Rangers on the frontier kept him out of the military's sight. Freckle-faced Len Tanner had swung a long and lanky leg across the cantle, dismounting to study the tracks. Conscript dodgers, you think? That was a possibility, but instinct told Rusty the trail had been made by Comanches, or possibly Kiowas. Perhaps both, for they often joined forces to venture south from their prairie and mountain strongholds. The Indians were well aware that white men of the North had been at war with white men of the South for most of 4 years. They didn't understand the reason.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it. at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.